Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, why Clayton Kershaw won't be pitching in the World Baseball Classic, why Gavin Lux feels he'll be good at shortstop, and a couple notes on Jason Hayward and David Peralta. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. If you never want to miss a day, because you know we're not going to, then you can subscribe into those places and get it sent right to you every weekday morning. This is your first time listener watching. I'm Vince Samperio. I'm joined by a co-host, Jeff Snider, usually, although today he won't be here, so I'm rolling solo dolo. And we're both lifelong Dodger fans that currently cover the team. We have spent a lot of time at Dodger Stadium over the years, and we'll continue to spend a lot of time at Dodger Stadium over the years. We're not quite insiders, but we're here to bring you our analysis every weekday morning for about 30 minutes, and that's what I'm here to do today. It was a weekend with not too much news. Position players all reported. So now everyone is in camp, ready to go. And the biggest news coming out of the weekend was Clayton Kershaw will not be pitching in the World Baseball Classic. We had talked about how I don't remember if we talked about it, but he wasn't quite sure late last week, if he was going to pitch. He said that they were trying to work it out. And then on Friday, it was announced that he would not be able to pitch for it. What we found out afterwards is it's a matter of insurance, which I'll get into in a little bit. But here's a quote from Kershaw about it. He said, quote, "Super disappointing. We tried a lot of different things. All sides really tried to make it work, and nothing is wrong with me. It just didn't work out. I really wanted to do it. I really wanted to be a part of that group. It's probably my last chance to do it, so I really wanted to do it. But it just didn't work out for a number of reasons. Disappointing, but that's okay. I'll be ready for this season and be ready to go." Yeah, so, obviously Kershaw used the word disappointing a lot. He clearly wanted to pitch for Team USA. This is probably his last chance at being a significant contributor for a USA team in the World Baseball Classic. The next one, I believe they're every 4 years now. The next one, in theory, he could be, Adam Wainwright's pitching for Team USA, and he's old, and Clayton Kershaw would be around the same age for the next one. But who knows? Either way, disappointing for Kershaw. Dodger fans, I don't know if you'll be disappointed or not. There's a risk factor when guys play in the World Baseball Classic, and if one of the guys that you're counting on to be in your starting rotation is not pitching in it, I guess you could feel a little bit sense of relief. But what it came down to for Kershaw was a matter of an insurance policy. So every player has to get an insurance policy taken out if they're going to play in the World Baseball Classic. MLB and the World Baseball Classic cover this insurance policy. They go through a neutral party that basically they set a standard for being able to be insured, and every player gets put into the yes, he's okay to be insured policy or pile, or no, he's not okay to be insured pile. And the ones that are then not okay insured to be pile, they can try to work stuff out. They can, get different things, or unfortunately they just can't play. Sonny Gray had the same thing happen to him in 2017 based on the fact that he was coming off an injury in 2016. Clayton Kershaw, it appears that his issue was the chronic back condition that he's had the last few years, and the elbow injury that he had at the end of 2021. It appears that's what kind of kept him out from being insured. He even went as far as to try to get his own insurance policy, but it just didn't work out, whether it was financially or whether it was just a matter of, clearance. I forget, one of the writers did write that. So Miguel Cabrera also didn't get cleared, but Miguel Cabrera went through different means and different route, and the Tigers allowed him to, I think they're allowing him to play without an insurance policy. The Dodgers declined to do that with Kershaw. It makes sense in a few different ways. Miguel Cabrera's in the last year of his deal. He's basically just a DH for the Tigers at this point. The Tigers aren't probably going to be any good this year. So, for them, it's a little bit more important maybe not more important, but it's important enough for Miguel Cabrera to play for Team Venezuela than it is to, be fully insured and everything else and worry about the Tigers. Whereas Dodgers, at the end of the day, it just comes down to money. But, if the Dodgers aren't protected in the way they would like to be protected, and they're putting a risk of getting one of their guys that's supposed to be in their starting rotation out there, then I can understand why they wouldn't clear without the insurance policy. And, it makes sense. It happens. It is what it is. It's not, Clayton Kershaw said he's healthy. Everyone said he's healthy. The Dodgers the Dodgers are allowing a lot of different players to play this year. So it wasn't a matter of that. It's just a matter of, this was a little bit deeper than just, hey, are you okay to play? It was, beyond their control. If they would have got the insurance policy, Kershaw would have been playing and it wouldn't have been a big deal. Kershaw went on to add, quote, "It's almost like an all-star game, but with meaning. I was getting really excited about it. I'm really bummed about it. It's disappointing, but obviously it's not the most important thing when you're with the Dodgers. We'll be ready for the season." As of now, Mookie and Will Smith will still play for Team USA, and then you got Miguel Rojas playing for Venezuela, Trace Thompson for Great Britain, and Julio and Austin Barnes playing for Mexico. One name that you might not see there that was originally expected to play is Brusdar Graterol. He also couldn't get an insurance policy because of past, I wouldn't say injury. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was injury history or just a matter, remember the Red Sox were skeptical about his medicals, and that's why the Dodgers ended up getting him in that trade. Whatever the case is, Graterol is not going to be pitching for Venezuela either. So that's the way it goes. It sucks for Kershaw. Obviously, he wanted to play. It's a blow for Team USA. Team USA has lost Logan Webb, who wasn't on the original, or who was committed to playing, but then not on the roster when they released it. They lost Nestor Cortez, who's dealing with the hamstring issue, and then now they lost Kershaw. Their starting pitching is down a little bit. Their starting pitching was down, and it wasn't as strong to begin with. So, yeah, they're gonna have to deal with that. But yeah, I mean, it sucks not being able to see Kershaw in this type of environment. It was fun to see Kershaw last year start the All-Star game and face these big names. And while none of the teams that they're playing in Phoenix in the first round, it's Mexico, Great Britain, Canada, and Colombia. He would have faced some guys, but it wasn't like, not like the Dominican Republic lineup where every guy starting is basically an all-star. But it would have been fun to see him in that environment, see what he can do, and get an early look at what Kershaw would have looked like heading into the season. But we're not going to get that. It sucks for him. It sucks for us as fans. If you care about, the World Baseball Classic, if you don't, you're probably like, oh, great. Kershaw's not going to risk himself unnecessarily by pitching in more higher stakes games earlier in the spring. So that's it. We're going to get into Gavin Lux and some quotes he had and what he did this offseason and how he's ready for shortstop. First, let's talk about FanDuel, because today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the midpoint of the NBA season, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And if you listen to me, I told you to bet Damian Lillard to win the three-point contest, and Damian Lillard won the three-point contest. And I did mention Mac McClung as the slam dunk contest winner, but I didn't know his odds. I believe he was one of the favorites, so it wasn't a big swing for me. But Mac McClung also won the slam dunk contest. So if you add that to Super Bowl first TD bet of Jalen Hurts, I've been on fire lately. If you have FanDuel, you should probably – no, don't listen to me, but you might want to listen to me. You never know. I'm a little bit of a heater. But FanDuel lets you put your bets together. Now that games are coming back, you can put together same game parlays with you can bet LeBron to score 20, AD to score 20, and D'Angelo Russell to score 20, which is what happened in the last game played. That might be a good bet moving forward. So don't miss your chance now to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. So Gavin Lux is seemingly going to be the shortstop once the Dodgers start spring training games, and barring any ridiculous issues, will be the shortstop as as the season starts, as their everyday shortstop. Gavin Lux, they spoke to him. He had some stuff to say about it, and I'll just read some of the quotes. First, it was talking about not playing shortstop last few years, and he said, "Quote: Both those guys are." Talking about Seager and Trey Turner. Both those guys are two of the best shortstops in baseball, arguably the two best. So I got to learn under them and saw how they went about their business. I love playing with both of them, but I think it's cool that I get to slide back to where I grew up playing. So I'm excited. Lux said he did notice people talking and maybe even questioning. There might have been a little bit of that from here. His ability to move from second base to shortstop. Lux said that the bigger adjustment in his career was moving from shortstop to second base. He played shortstop his entire, growing up in the minors. He played shortstop, and not until he learned a little bit of second base, but not until he got to the Dodgers did he play second base full time. So even though he's been playing second base, he's still taking ground balls at shortstop the last couple of years, and he's been preparing himself for this to eventually happen. And he said, I feel comfortable on the left side when it comes to reading balls and reading it off the bat. That's what I did growing up, and I feel really comfortable going back over there. So, obviously, it's a good sign that he says he feels comfortable. Obviously, he's going to feel comfortable. Like I mentioned, he played shortstop his whole life, and that's something that doesn't just go away, especially moving to second base. But he did have some thoughts about maybe coming up and playing second base firstly rather than being shortstop. Sitting behind Seager and Turner, he said, I think I would have been ready to play shortstop 3 years ago, and I would have taken my bumps and bruises, but I'm not sure how I would have handled it. But I think now mentally and physically, I'm way more prepared to handle it than I would have been 3 years ago. It's night and day for sure. And this makes sense because we've seen with Lux before, not that he wasn't mentally strong, but that confidence was a big part of Gavin Lux's game, and early on at the plate, it seemed like he was confident. That first year he came up, and the next year he had kind of an up and down season. Never really quite found his footing defensively at shortstop in the minors. He did have some throwing issues at one point, which can be a matter of confidence after a certain point. It becomes a matter of confidence. The yips are de facto a matter of confidence to a certain extent as well. And he dealt with that a little bit throwing wise. Second base, same thing. It seemed that to me, this is what it seemed like. Not that this is what it was, but when he did make mistakes throwing, it's when he had more time to think about the throw rather than just grab the ball and throw. Like if you're making a play in the hole, you literally just have time to get the ball and throw the ball. No time to think. Really, you're more reaction based. Whereas a more routine ground ball or a ground ball to either side, where you have a little bit more time. If you have time to pump once, pump twice, whatever the case is, you're thinking about a little bit more. And that seemed to be when he threw the ball off a little bit. That might, I don't know, necessarily be projecting because I don't throw the ball and I don't have projective issues on that. But it just seemed like that's what happened with Lux. So his major part of his game is confidence, and just based on the fact of where he grew up, Wisconsin, it's not necessarily a pipeline for MLB talent that often. You're not, you can't really play baseball year round like some of these other places. So, you never know what it is. He might have been the best player on every team he's ever played for, and he continued to do that. Even in the minor leagues, he was really, really, really good. And when he got to the majors, that wasn't the case anymore, and he had to kind of figure things out. And, he's grown up the last few years, and I think last year was not a culmination, but last year was a huge step in that progression because he was playing at a very, very high level up until the injury. Offensively, defensively, yeah, he had a couple miscues here and there. And we talked about last year how a lot of those miscues were magnified because the Dodgers ended up allowing runs after them. That doesn't always happen after errors. Not every error leads directly to runs, but it seemed like every Gavin Lux error led directly to runs. So that's why we remember him a little bit more. But overall, he was pretty solid defensively at second base and even had to play a little bit of shortstop in the past few years, and he was fine. So, yeah, I don't. Am I on board of after these Gavin Lux quotes? Am I on board saying, "Oh man, Gavin Lux is going to be a really great shortstop"? I don't know. I don't know, but I would if he feels confident and he feels ready and he feels more comfortable, then that should make us feel a little bit more comfortable as fans. The other part with Gavin Lux is that he also went to Driveline this offseason. It says in the article, it says that the Dodgers encourage nearly every position player to do so this offseason. And Gavin Lux got some of the same comments that Mookie Betts got in terms of you need to put on more strength. So Gavin Lux, according to this article from Juan Toribio, said Lux spent the offseason eating close to 4,500 calories a day and working with the training staff. He came into camp about 15 pounds heavier than he was last season, a change that could lead to more power and more arm strength. And those are two things one thing Gavin Lux kind of needs at shortstop. The other part is just a matter of how he fits a shortstop mold. But yeah, Gavin Lux having more power would be solid. Last year we saw he seemed to maybe concede a little bit of power in order to be a better hitter overall. And it worked, hit a lot of doubles. He got on base a lot, a lot of singles, a lot of doubles, not as many home runs. Every so often he'd let it fly and get that home run power. But if he can feel comfortable in that swing now, in that approach, put on this, muscle and put on this weight and have that little bit of power now, then he might feel comfortable, letting it loose, letting it rip a little bit more often, leading to a little bit more of a power surge, which could be fun. Gavin Lux, his swing is ridiculous. His hands are fast, and him trusting himself to let those hands fly along with a little bit extra power. Some baseballs could go pretty far when Gavin Lux hits them. And when it comes to arm strength, I don't believe that arm strength was ever an issue with Gavin Lux, but he was not known coming up. He wasn't known for like, oh man, this guy has a rocket arm. It was, oh, he has a good arm. Now, if it does help with arm strength a little bit, he's going to be making some deeper throws in the hole. That'll just benefit him and maybe make him feel more confident in the fact that, I got to throw this ball and potentially, a little bit more often than I did at second base. I got to throw the ball across the diamond and get these outs, and I can't think about it. I just don't got to worry about it. And if I'm not worried about my arm strength because I know my arm strength is stronger because of what I did this offseason, then I don't have much to worry about. So all in all, positive things for Gavin Lux. And, I'm looking, while I still was holding out hope that maybe the Dodgers would go after a bigger shortstop, not a knock on Lux, but Lux being your everyday second baseman and then you having a shortstop that's better than him or theoretically better than him at shortstop, that makes your whole team stronger. Now you got Gavin Lux at short where, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. You have an idea. And then now you have Miguel Vargas at second base, who you don't really know what you're going to get defensively. You have an idea of what you want to get out of him offensively, but you still don't know. So, you have a little bit more question marks there than if you would have done it the other way. But then, Miguel Vargas maybe wouldn't have got a chance to play or would have had to be in left field, and then they don't make some of these other moves and domino effect. So the Dodgers are out where they're at now. I don't believe there's any, big deals or big trades coming anymore. Gavin Lux is going to be the shortstop, barring any injury or barring any, crazy yips or something like that. So we're invested. We're all in. I'm looking forward to seeing him this spring and see how he does and see how he is and, see if that weight gain that he put on helps out in offensively. And if, he can make the throws defensively. That's all I'm really worried about. So that's all Gavin Lux talk. We're going to talk about Jason Heyward. Freddie Freeman had some comments. Dave Roberts had some comments about Jason Heyward that maybe could get you more excited about what Jason Heyward's going to bring to the Dodgers. And then some notes on David Peralta and why he signed with the Dodgers, which is very similar to why someone else signed with the Dodgers this offseason. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try a Built Bar. You're through the holidays. You're into almost month 3 of the year. And if you're still holding on strong to those New Year's resolutions, or you want to kick those New Year's resolutions back in the year, Built Bar can help because not only are they healthy, not only are they packed with protein, but they're low calorie, they're good for you, low carb, and they taste great. They're all covered in 100% real chocolate, which is, it's like a candy bar, but it's also a candy bar that has protein, low calories, low sugar. Where else are you going to get that? Not very many places, if any places at all, other than Built Bar. And they come in great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. And you can go to built.com and order your Built Bars like you've been doing, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. You just head to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. They got 4-bar boxes, 13-bar boxes. Try it a 4-bar box. See what you like, see what you think about it. They got great flavors like the ones I mentioned earlier. They got cookies and cream, double chocolate, coconut puffs. They're always coming out with different flavors to satisfy any palate. So right now, go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club, go to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a Built Bar box, and you can thank us later. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Check out Locked On MLB Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby. He's a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, let's finish up with some talk about Jason Heyward. And we've talked about Jason Heyward, handful of times already this offseason. So the Dodgers signed him to a minor league deal. We know that Freddie Freeman was one of the reasons that maybe Heyward signed here, that he basically recruited him and basically sold him to the Dodgers in terms of, hey, he's still got a lot left, blah, blah, blah. So here's some quotes from Freddie Freeman about Jason Heyward and what to expect from him. He said, quote, "You're going to see why he was a first-round draft pick. He wants to be so good, too. It's in there, and I think he might have unlocked it." He said he's been putting in work. I love his adjustments. It's a big difference. He has a better chance to get to the ball. Everyone is happy with his adjustments. And, yeah, for Freeman, basically what they said is that he's kind of Hayward's and reinvented his swing a little bit, and he's moved his hands a little bit. He's getting to the ball quicker. He will be able to, hit the ball better than he has in the past. And that's exciting. Dave Roberts also spoke on it. He said, quote, "Intangibles of what a guy like Jay Hay does, I already know the value. I'm very bullish on the swing, the player, the person, and how he's going to help our ball club this year." Now, yeah, this gets you excited because as we've seen in the past with Dodger players, if there's a swing change, the Dodgers are pretty good at either one, helping them unlock it, or two, maintaining that swing change in order to benefit them. And we've seen it lead to guys that have been all-stars and, been very successful for the Dodgers. Justin Turner had already kind of changed his swing beforehand, but came here to the Dodgers and, they let him do what he wanted to do, and he kept it. Chris Taylor, same thing, changed his swing a little bit, was able to handle things over here and become pretty good. Obviously, last year, a little bit of a bad year, but other than that, he's been very solid for the Dodgers overall. So, similar to like pitchers, when they come over here, you think position players might be able to unlock something. And if Jason Heyward was already in the process of unlocking that and then joined the Dodgers, then it's just going to benefit him even more. Now, this is not to say all of a sudden Jason Heyward's going to be good again. He was not very good the last few years. He's still been good defensively, but the last 2 years with the Cubs, he hit 211 with a 66 OPS plus, which is, if Bellinger's was bad, and this is even worse than that. But he is only 33 years old. He has been good in the past. He has had a weird sort of career. But if there's one thing to unlock, and he unlocks that, we know he has the talent. We know he has, the fast twitch muscle fiber. That everything's there. They just have to tap into it and unlock it. And if that's something that happens, that's going to be a benefit for the Dodgers. It might not be the best news for guys like James Outman and Trace Thompson, who are fighting with Heyward for one of the spots on the Dodgers roster. But, it's one of those things where if Jason Heyward is on the Dodgers roster without an injury, then that's a good sign. That means he's playing very well. And if he's on the roster because of injury and not necessarily because he's playing well, that's not ideal. But yeah, we're going to obviously start seeing it at the end of this week. Spring training games start this coming weekend. We're going to see what he can do. But, the other part of it with Heyward and what we've learned from his time with the Cubs is just leadership. And leadership's been a big topic of conversation this offseason, um, for the Dodgers. And Freddie spoke about that as well. He said there's different kinds of leadership, in my opinion, in this game. I'm not going to top step, rope it, and yell and rah-rah, but you're going to see me in the same spot in the dugout. I'm cheering my teammates on. I'm in it. I want to be there out there every single day. It's hard to lead if you're not out there. That's one of my biggest things. Play the game the right way. Treat everybody the same with respect. So Heyward can help with that, especially if he's on the major league roster. We know that, the story is that Heyward is the guy that kind of rallied the troops or rallied the Cubs in 2016 after that rain delay. He got them going, and that's what catapulted them to ending up finishing and winning that Game 7 and winning the World Series. Although he's only 33 years old, he's been in this game a long time. He started when he was, 20, 21 years old as a starter in this league. So for Heyward to add that, veteran presence, that's also beneficial. And like I said, with the Dodgers, the leadership's going to come. I'm not worried about the leadership at all. It's going to come from a variety of different places. Mookie Betts even said he's not going to be a guy that forces it, but he knows when to pick and choose his spots when he needs to do things that are considered leaders or leadership. So that's what we got there. Another one of those guys that could provide that is David Peralta. And David Peralta spoke with reporters and basically said why he chose the Dodgers. One of them was, he said, quote, "The Dodgers are one of the first teams in." And I said, okay, this is going to be option number one. That's what I wanted to do, to win championships. I'm sure that I made the right decision to be on this team. Now, Peralta has obviously seen the Dodgers from the other side for a long time. He was with the Diamondbacks for pretty much, or I think his entire career up until last year when he got traded to the Rays at midseason. And the article did state that the Dodgers were interested in trading for Peralta last year before they ended up getting Joey Gallo. Peralta did struggle with the Rays, but he did have surgery this offseason to repair a herniated disc in his back. He said that he's not sure or doesn't want to speculate how that might have affected his production with the Rays, but that he did have discomfort that came out of nowhere. Now it's all fixed. So this is the second guy for sure, second veteran that maybe took an under. I think his deal was pretty much market value, maybe a little bit under. Maybe he could have got 2 years somewhere. I don't know. But, JD Martinez said the same thing. He picked the Dodgers because he wanted to win a World Series or wanted to compete for a title. David Peralta is doing the same thing. And, this is the type of thing that the Dodgers can benefit. It's not as prominent in baseball. And I've talked about this a week or two ago, where it's not as prominent in baseball when I talk about JD, because, going on a team doesn't guarantee they're going to win. In basketball, there's really only 4, maybe 5 teams every year that are legitimately going to win the title, barring any, crazy run. So if you're a veteran and you can play for a little bit less, but you can be guaranteed to be on one of those 4 teams that are, likely to win a championship, then you're going to do it. And that's why we've seen guys play with like the Warriors back when they had their big trio and added KD. Guys would go play there for the veteran minimum. Guys would go play with LeBron for the veteran minimum, or guys would play with the Heat when it was LeBron and D Wade and Bosh over there because of the veteran minimum. You see it in the NFL. And Ndamukong Suh joined the Eagles very late in the season. Didn't quite work out for him, but still, when you see guys sign maybe lower deals in order to be on teams, in the NFL, there's a little bit more parity, but at the end of the day, there's still, for the most part, you knew Brady was going to be in the playoffs pretty much every year. You knew some of these other teams were going to be in the playoffs pretty much every year, and that's all you can really ask for. In baseball, it's not that prominent because even if you join the number 1 team, that doesn't mean you're going to make the World Series. That means you'll have a chance, but it doesn't mean much more than that. And especially now with the expanded playoffs, that chance went from, used to be 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. Now it's 1 in 6. And 1 in 7. So it's not as prominent as it was before. But if the Dodgers can attract guys like this that are still going to be, know their roles, David Peralta knows he's not going to be an everyday starter. He's going to play against right-handed pitching, and he's going to play, not every day. Then that's solid. JD Martinez, he is going to play every day. Dave Roberts kind of said he's not going to be. He doesn't expect JD Martinez to play 162 games, but he expects him to be in there 99.9% of the time. So, a guy like that still has a role. benefits the Dodgers for them to be able to get these types of veterans. And, Noah Syndergaard also had better deals out where, but he wanted to come here for the player development. But, I would imagine being able to compete for championships also added to that, but being able to learn from Dodgers and see what they've done to other guys' careers, that's also part of it. So, the Dodgers are building a place where people want to come. And it might not be always the biggest stars that want to come here because the Dodgers aren't paying the most money, but picking, winning around the margins is also a great way to build a championship team. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Check out Locked On Movie Press Picks for your second listen. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're also free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube if you search for Locked On Dodgers, which is how you can find us on Twitter and Instagram, Locked On Dodgers. You can also find Jeff on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vince Samperio. DMs are open on all those accounts if you need to get a hold of us. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. Search my device for your podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.